if someone wants to clip this, you're welcome to clip it. Publicly. This one's fine. Da, 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 da! So I arrive, and I think my suitcase came out first. Wow! Hog! I went to the train, and then I was standing in front of the ticket thingy, and they were occupied. And I noticed while I was waiting that one of the occupants was Asian, and I looked at them and I couldn't hear them clearly, and I was like, are they Japanese? I don't know. Like, normally I have like an immediate eye for it, but for these two I wasn't sure immediately because I only saw them from behind too, I guess. But then I hear that they're speaking Japanese, and I'm like, they're taking a long time there. I wonder if they need help. So I buy my ticket, and then I'm done, and I notice they're still at it, and they seem to be dancing around. So yes, I turn into help Cho. So I'm like, もしよかったら手伝いましょうか? And they're like, oh! They certainly did not expect an efficient Japanese speaker to rescue them. They were like, oh! Whoa! Hi! Hi! お願いします! なんで日本語できるんですか? 日本語上手ですね. And I'm like, oh yes, I lived in Japan before, yeah. And I'm actually going to Japan very soon again. I told them when, and they were like, oh! Didn't you just arrive? And I'm like, yeah. What do you need help with? And then I helped them out, and I got them their ticket, and then I asked them, because they were so sweet, they were so happy, so I asked them, how long will you be here? And they're like, oh, for 3 days. I'm like, oh, okay. After that, they will go to Salzburg. And I'm like, oh, watashi no shushinchi desu. And they're like, whoa. And then the lady, it was a couple, a pretty old-ish couple, maybe 50 plus. And she immediately, the moment she hears I'm from there, she whips out her Japanese travel guide. And she's like, oh, please let me know, like, which of these restaurants are your recommendations? And then I kind of blanked, like, I didn't know. I mean, I was young when I lived there. I wasn't really going to restaurants much because I was young. And restaurants are expensive. And my mommy was making food, so I'm like, I look at the restaurant names that she has in her travel guide, and I'm like, I just told her, oh yeah, these three, these should be fine, because I knew them from the name. They seem famous. I'm like, you'll totally have a good time there. And I just had a hunch, so I asked, Sound of Music 好きですか? もしかしたら. And they're like, yes. And I'm like, oh, you have to go and do the Sound of Music tour in Salzburg. And they're like, oh, we already booked it. I'm like, oh, perfect. It will be so much fun for you. Like, I did it too, and you gotta sing along. It's so much fun. I think you'll have a great time. It's like in the old days when I was working in a hotel. I'm so good. Like, I'm such a tourist pleaser. Oh, and they almost like were gonna take the wrong train that doesn't work with the ticket they bought. So I was like, no, you have to take the other train because this one's like special. You can't take that one. So I got them to stay away from a disaster. And then a girl that was standing at the ticket machine, she was like peeking over while buying a ticket. She shows up next to me, and she's like, in English, although I'm assuming she probably is from here and could have spoken German, but she must have assumed that maybe, you know, because I speak Japanese, maybe I'm not from here or so, but I'm certainly not Japanese. That's what she was aware of. But like, she talks to me in English. She's like, hey, sorry, excuse me, your Japanese is so good. Like, why? How did you do it? And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I don't know. I lived in Japan before, and I've studied it a long time ago. I started like learning it. She's like, oh, how can I do it? I also want to learn Japanese. And I'm like, oh, well, I feel like the easiest way is maybe like going to Japan if you can, like doing a working holiday or something like that, like spending some time there. And I felt really like cool because the Japanese couple was still standing there. I was like in the middle of helping them still, more or less. And they were like smiling because they realized what was going on, that I was like being popular. And so I was like giving her some advice because she seemed really like, please help me, senpai, you know? I asked her how old she is, and she told me she's 15. And I'm like, girl, I was 15 when I started learning Japanese, and if you're in that age, then totally go for it. Like, you can pick the language up so much faster at this age. This is the time. This is your chance. You can do it. I was giving her motivational speech. Yeah, she's a baby. She's like literally me! Being like a weeb, wanting to learn Japanese at 15. And she was like, she had these sparkles in her eyes and she was like smiling and happy and like, wow, sugoi, you know? So I don't know, that was a really sweet interaction I had at the airport. I got to help 2 Japanese people and I inspired a young girl to learn Japanese. Don't let it be a dream, just do it. I hope she will get into it. Just do it. Don't let your dreams be dreams. Nah, the moment she told me how old she was, I was like, damn, she's me. She's me 100 years ago. I gotta help her out. So many people come here because of Sound of Music, man. So funny to me. But I'm glad. I'm just honored and happy that they choose Austria, you know. Like, I'm honestly, like, so flattered when I see that. Gotta really say thank you to Sound of Music for at least raising awareness to some people out there.